Remember back in 2020 when everybody started buying all the toilet paper? My wife and I were at the grocery store one day and we saw people with carts just piled full of it. And we were looking at each other like, what in the world's going on here? And we honestly didn't know. It wasn't until later that night when we got home and watched the news that we found out what was happening. And of course, before long, you couldn't hardly find toilet paper anywhere. So there were some options. No. So here's what we finally decided on, was to put a bidet in. Now I'll tell you, when I first heard about this, I thought, I don't know if I'd ever use something like that. It just seemed a little strange to me. In my mind, I was thinking this. But then I started looking at it, and I found out that people in Europe and Asia have been using these things for years. And the more I learned about them, the more it started making sense. The first thing was just being cleaner. Think about it. When my hands are dirty or your hands are dirty, we put them underneath water in a faucet and wash them off. And then there's all that toilet paper we're flushing. And if you have a septic tank like we do, that's less paper going into your septic tank. So I was starting to see the benefits, but there was still one thing I wasn't too sure about. Cold water. I thought, you mean this thing's gonna spray cold water on me? No thanks. But then I found out it doesn't have to. So we bought the bidet, and more specifically, this is the one we chose, the BioBidet Slim 1. And before we go any further, I want to make something clear. This video is not sponsored. We bought this ourselves. Nobody paid me to make this video. But after we saw the benefits of having one and how easy it is to install it, I want to share it with you. But there's a few things you need to look at that we had to think about before we got it. One is, does it have to have another hot water line run into your bathroom? But this one doesn't. It heats the water itself. And you can adjust the temperature. You can adjust how strong the spray is. You can adjust where the nozzle sprays. It's even got a heated seat and a night light, for crying out loud. And the nozzle even cleans itself. It also has different wash settings and a child setting too, so if you have toddlers growing up, they can use it also. And here's something else I liked. They even give you this laminated instruction card. So if somebody hasn't used it before, or you forgot what one of the buttons does, you can hang this right there by the toilet. Now there is one thing you need to know before you buy this particular type. It does need electricity. So you need a properly grounded GFCI protected 120 volt outlet close enough to the cord to reach. Fortunately, we already had one in this bathroom. Now, if you don't have an outlet close enough, I've got another video showing how I added an outlet from an existing outlet without having to do any drywall repair or painting. And I'll put a link to that right down in the description below. So once you have the proper outlet installed, now let's get this thing in. The first thing you're going to do is to shut off the water going to the toilet. Turn the valve clockwise until it's closed. Then flush the toilet to take the pressure off the line. Now you may want to put a towel underneath here because you're probably going to get a little water when you disconnect the hose. Now this little T-valve comes with the bidet. And this is what lets us supply water to both the toilet and the bidet from the same cold water line. So we're not cutting any pipes, we're not soldering anything, and we're not running another water line. So install the T-valve according to the directions. Then reconnect the toilet supply hose to it. And if you want to see the proper way to install a supply line hose, then I'll put a link in the description for a video I've made that will show you the proper way to install one. So we'll connect the bidet hose here in just a minute. Next, we're going to take off the old toilet seat. Now usually you've got just 2 bolts holding it on. Just remove these, lift the seat off, and while you're getting everything off there, you might as well clean this area because you're probably going to find some stuff underneath there that you didn't even know was there. So go ahead and get that cleaned. Now this bidet comes with all the mounting hardware that you'll need. Just position the mounting bracket over the existing toilet seat mounting holes. Then install the bolts, brackets, and washers the way the instructions show here. But don't crank it down tight just yet. We may need to move it a little bit to get the seat positioned correctly. Now take the bidet and line it up with the mounting bracket and slide it back until it locks in place. Then check the position. You don't want it sticking way out past the front of the toilet, and you don't want it pushed too far back either. If it's not right, just press this little button on the side. It slides right out, and just take the bracket and loosen it just a little bit, move it forward or backward, whatever you need, retighten it, and put the toilet seat back on again. Once you're happy with where it sits, tighten everything down. But don't get carried away here. We're tightening hardware against the toilet, so snug is what we're after. Now connect the supplied bidet hose between the T-valve and the bidet. Make sure everything is seated correctly. Then slowly turn the water back on. And don't just walk away. Check every connection. Look here and here and here, and look underneath. Run your finger around the fittings and make sure there's no water dripping. If you find a leak, shut the water off and fix it before going any further. Now, once we don't have any leaks, we're going to plug it into our GFCI protected outlet. Now, I've already checked this, as you can see, and you need to check yours to make sure the ground fault is working. And now we've got ourselves a pretty fancy toilet. But before you start pushing buttons, there's something important you need to know. The bidet has a seat sensor. That means the wash functions aren't supposed to operate unless somebody is sitting on the seat. Now, that's a pretty good feature. Now look at this. This is pretty neat. You've got several choices. You've got your regular wash, you've got your bidet, you've even got turbo. And you can change the nozzle position. You can increase or decrease the water pressure. You can make it warmer, you can make it cooler. And this is just one of the big ones for me. You can adjust the water temperature. No ice cold surprises. You can set it where it's comfortable for you. And while we're talking about heat, the seat is heated too. So although it has a lot of controls, it's not complicated. It's pretty easy and straightforward. And it even has a built-in night light, which is kind of cool. That may sound like a little thing until you get up in the middle of the night and you don't want to turn on a bright bathroom light. Then you'll appreciate it. Now here's something I wondered about when I first started looking at these. How do you keep the nozzle clean? And that's a fair question. This one automatically cleans the nozzle during normal operation. And there's also a nozzle cleaning function that you can use when you want to clean it manually. Now that was important to us because if we're buying something for better hygiene, I want the thing itself to stay clean too. Well, now that we've had one, I understand why they're so common in other parts of the world. I also understand why more Americans are starting to use them. For us, it's cleaner, it's comfortable, we're using a whole lot less toilet paper. And remember that toilet paper shortage that I talked about? If it ever happens again, it's no big deal. So I was a guy who originally thought, I don't think I'd ever use one of those. Now, I wouldn't be without it. And if you're thinking the same thing I was, I understand. It takes a little getting used to, but once you actually use one and see how well it works, you may start wondering why we haven't been doing this all along. So if you're interested in this particular bidet we installed, I'll put a link for it down in the description. And again, there's other ones too. Since this isn't sponsored, I'll put a couple other links to other bidets that we thought were good too. So if this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up. And if you like homeowner repairs and projects like this, consider subscribing if you haven't already. And don't forget to comment below if you were thinking about getting one or already have one. So thanks for watching, you take care, and God bless.